Alright, welcome to the stream here. This is Bad at Fighting Games Presents One Punch Combo, a fighting game podcast, episode 4. Dragon Ball Fighters reveals Baby 2 and SSJ4 Gogeta. I'm Reason B Man, a guy who's finally about to move, so thank goodness for that. If you want to chat while the podcast is being streamed, you can join me live on Twitch at Reason B Man. And so I think even more, the reason of why I do this is more important. This isn't really news, but it's why I decided to start this podcast and everything. The subreddit FGC shut down. Now, in looking at it, it said there was a lot of spam and everything, and I don't know what happened towards its end, but there was some pretty interesting stuff. Like, that's how I found out about the Coffee and Combos fighting game podcast, and that's where I've posted this podcast a couple of times. But unfortunately, I guess the moderators felt there was too much spam, and I know there was a number of videos because you could only really put links there if I remember correctly, and so it was pretty annoying trying to find out actual FGC news. We were getting where people's streaming videos, which is why I am doing this podcast. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's more the reason why we're here and why I'm doing this. On to our actual news. This story comes to us from Game Informer. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus gets a new fighter and battle pass this month. So we've had season passes before in fighting games, but now we have the more industry standard, as opposed to a loot box. You have battle passes now. So that's unfortunate, but from hearing it from the Coffee and Combos guys, and I think even Event Hubs that posted, it's not really worth it. I mean, if you are going all in on Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, it is what it is, but isn't really necessary. And our main news item here, Dragon Ball Fighters added Super Baby 2, which is a really weird name, and I didn't watch GT, so it's interesting seeing that, and especially since they've disavowed GT, seeing that sort of stuff being put into the game. But there isn't much left to add in terms of, you've got Super, you've got OG Dragon Ball, kind of, sort of, you've got Dragon Ball Z, so it's both good and a little bit scary that they're willing to reach into GT. Super Baby 2 will be out on January 15th. Probably the bigger news item, but I didn't want to do two Smash headlines in a row. I mean, we can probably just put Smash at the top of this podcast forevermore, but that's not something I want to do. Sephiroth released in Smash Bros. On the 23rd of December, just in time for Christmas and your other holidays like Kwanzaa, and you could unlock him earlier in a limited time mode. Super Smash Bros. Updated to 10.1. That Sephiroth story brought to us by Jinx with a G.TV. The Dragon Ball Fighters story was Game Informer. Back to another Jinx story. Journalist mocks the free Melee hashtag after Nintendo issues a cease and desist. So I'm not in deep enough to really understand the point, and it doesn't help that it's translated from Spanish. I speak a tiny bit of Spanish, but definitely not my specialty. Apparently the person's beef is with charging kids and make them think that's normal for tourneys. As far as I know, that's pretty standard for Magic the Gathering and everything. I've been to a couple Magic the Gathering tournaments and in tournament environments, so I don't really understand it, but just putting that out there, I thought that was interesting. We're all familiar with, actually the last podcast was called Nintendo versus Melee, so we're all familiar with that. And the fallout It had probably, if you're watching this, another Jinx.TV story, Rayman, Doomguy, and Ryu Hayabusa coming to Smash Bros. Ultimate according to a leak. Capcom Cup Finals will be played offline in Dominican Republic, according to Jinx.TV. So I have not heard too much about how Dominican Republic is handling coronavirus and everything. So hopefully they are doing so well. Well, apparently, the venue they've got, Hard Rock Hotel Casino Punta Cana, has stringent COVID-19 protocols. Although I would seriously double check on whether you think it's worth it to go there to compete in this one. It's tough. I mean, your career could be on the line, but your life could be on the line on the opposite end of that. But yeah, I wonder if in this article they say why they're not doing it online. Yeah, so I don't really have any information on that, and it doesn't. I'm not really sure how the Dominican Republic dealt with coronavirus. So it's a very strange move. We know places like New Zealand, Australia, they handled coronavirus well. So of course they're reaping the benefits of that, which actually I'm going to talk a little bit about on my other podcast, filler episode, an anime and manga podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Galgoya, Gingerine, let's do this _music. Moving on, we have another Jinx.TV story. HyperX Arena threatens to permanently shut down Smash events due to low attendance during the pandemic. So this is an odd one, but much like theaters are sort of lashing out at certain people, there's only so much that can be done. Yeah, I definitely am not on the side of HyperX Arena, considering that looking at this article, they're based in Las Vegas. I know, there's not really anywhere in the U.S. that's handling coronavirus well, which is why I'm hopefully going to be getting out of here. Apparently, there's an update to this story. They won't be canceling Smash tourneys, but instead just doing them once a month. So they really got in there for the headline there then, and it's not that serious. But anyway, that is an interesting. Well, it was an interesting story until we investigated, and it became a non-interesting story. But it's exclusive to the stream, so. Smash grandees Leffen and Mango left disappointed after portrayal in the metagame documentary. So this is brought to us by Jinx.TV. So I'm not too familiar with this, but apparently Leffen's victories were consistently portrayed with depressing music. So I guess not necessarily putting him in a great light. But yeah. Moving on, Jinx.TV again. Nintendo cancels Splatoon tournament stream after players show support for Melee. So again, you have this Nintendo versus Melee thing, and the aftershocks just keep coming. They actually have stopped, but mostly I think because we're in a holiday season and no one's really picking a fight with anybody. And with this, FT Win claimed another Splatoon championship as the Splat House breaks records following NA Open stream cancellation. So I think that's the Barbra Streisand effect, where you try and quell something only to strengthen it. Speaking of Nintendos, and this is tangentially related, another story by Jinx.tv. Nintendo shuts down Etika Joy-Con's fundraising project for suicide prevention awareness. Etika was a Nintendo personality, I guess is the best way you can put it. I'm not too familiar. I think they did some stuff with Smash too, which is why I put this in here. But much like Sony with the whole custom PS5, I think they have PS5 nameplates or shells or something. They're going to try and protect their stuff, especially if it's Nintendo. So, have to be careful of that. Jinx.tv with another story here. Dragon Ball FighterZ Nationals in Japan. PS4 input delay hampers the strongest region. And so, this story I was a little bit curious about, but it's pretty standard fare of how you have input delay and people dealing with the coronavirus. But something I didn't know, and that's worth bringing up, is that the Steam version of Dragon Ball FighterZ is not available in Japan, forcing the Nationals to be played over PlayStation Network. So that I did not know, and I wonder why, because it's definitely been time enough for it to hypothetically be on Steam. But I think the Steam version and the console version released at the same time, if I'm remembering correctly. But that is an interesting distinction. Normally, you might see something like that outside of Japan, but because I assume the rights and everything are right there with the Japanese company Shueisha, Shonen Jump, etc., etc. But that's interesting. Again, going back to this documentary, another story from Jinx.tv. Smash Melee metagame documentary premieres at a time the community needs it most. So if you'd like to check that out, and if you're into Smash Melee, you have a documentary there. Next up, another Jinx.tv story. Nintendo forces Play VS, I guess that's Play Versus, to drop Smash Ultimate Collegiate League. So this is an upcoming deal in spring 2021 that they were denied Smash Bros. Ultimate for. So just looking at this article here. So there is a follow-up, but there is a follow-up, and I think what I'm taking away from this follow-up is that this story, the employee who released this information about Nintendo was not giving approval by the higher ups, and says that Nintendo is having a conversation with them, but it doesn't necessarily deny the fact that they're not going to have it. So that's I'm going to leave that for the Smash community to figure out. But that is vague. Let's see. Moving on, we have Dot Esports with an article. The first in-game Super Smash Bros. Ultimate event of 2021 will take place this weekend. We got a Guilty Gear Strive Anji Mito trailer, again from Dot Esports. Dot Esports again. Super Smash Bros. Game director Sakurai says he'll be sharing fewer pictures. Arc System Works and Neopol announced Dungeon Fighter and Duel, which is, I guess, a fighting game. I've never heard of the property. But they've really, Arc System Works has really been making some moves lately with Bandai Namco and everything like that. Um, so, based on a South Korean MMO beat 'em up, so probably not going to be quality, but we'll see. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus passed the test. Luffy wins a Capcom Cup 2020 invite after dominating the community vote. This is from .esports. .esports again. Capcom confirms dates for Capcom Cup 2020 and release window for Street Fighter V. Dan Hibiki. SNK will launch a new console in 2021. .esports again. So this is probably not something on a Microsoft level of Xbox Series, but worth pointing out because, of course, they were a big fighting game company at one time. So we'll see what they have in store. .esports with another story: Smash Bros. Code of Conduct panel officially disbands. This video is really distracting. So apparently the Code of Conduct panel is mostly anonymous group of Smash members that work to uphold a cohesive community structure has disbanded. So apparently they were too small, and they got overwhelmed with basically the Me Too stuff hitting the Smash community. But that sort of stuff still needs to be addressed, and I don't think it helps if it's anonymous. So yeah, so that's not great. Because especially at a time like this, they do need an official body to govern that sort of thing. We Play Esports launches new fighting game centric company in partnership with champion boxer Alexander Usyk. That's from .esports. Banjo and Kazooie, Terry and Byleth amiibo to release in March 2021 from .esports. I just put that one in there because it's kind of weird. Seeing these certain characters have amiibos after amiibos themselves have lost relevance. Skullomania debuts as Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 5 as G's costume. So this continues the Fighting Layer EX character crossover with Street Fighter 5, and that's from .esports. Moving on, Tekken director Harada is working on Bandai Namco's most expensive project ever, but chances are it's not a fighting game. That is worth mentioning since he was the Tekken guy, and it seems like he sort of still is. Even though I believe he's been promoted, he still seems pretty active. And I mean, hey, I'm not going to complain about it. He's done a stellar job with Tekken and everything. So we have a new character teased in the form of Anre in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Um, and our next news story, IP owners. Ed Boon said that IP owners for guests have been more like partners than license holders when it comes to their approval for Mortal Kombat 11. So this is, I think this one is in particular, I really don't like event hubs because you have to sift through so much opinion pieces and crap. But I really like this one because it goes through their process of going from Mortal Kombat 9 and how it's really tossed up, grown up, glowed up since then. Reading more into this article here. Okay, so they're not really saying anything too interesting, but they're partners as opposed to license holders, and the approval process going smoothly. Can't complain too much there. Another Event Hub story. Kazunoko drops his season 3.5 tier list for Dragon Ball Fighters as the game's first multi-year champion. Yeah, so in triple S tier, that's a new one. Normally we only go up to S plus or S, but triple S tier is Ultra Instinct Goku. Double S being Gotenks, so that's a change. But I guess it's good he's better. Kid Buu and Kid Goku. S plus being Master Roshi, Bardock, Hit, and Hit's got improved a lot then, jeez. And Teen Goku. And at the bottom you have Zamasu, Frieza, and Goku Black. So that's I've seen another tier list, and that's informally known as the Zamasu tier. So they've dropped a lot over the seasons. Yeah, so I always think it's pretty interesting to look at tier lists and see how they stack with other tier lists, especially since I haven't really been able to get my hands on the game anytime soon. Next up, we have Lord Knight's tier list brought to us by Event Hubs. And top tier, we have Kid Buu, Teen Gohan, Gotenks, Classic Broly, Ultra Instinct Goku. I think that's Base Goku, Base Vegeta, Android 21. And there's too many in the S tier to really go over. But in the A plus tier, we have, and I should clarify the last tier list. It went from triple S to D, whereas this one goes from top tier, to A plus. So Lord Knight thinks it's a lot more even than Kazunoko does. But anyway, A plus, you have I'm not going to be able to tell whether this is Gogeta or Vegito, but it's one of the two. Is A plus. Super Saiyan Goku, Android 16, Videl, Goku Black, Zamasu, Nappa, and Frieza. So at the bottom, we're seeing a lot of agreements. At the top, but overall at the top, it's a lot less stringent, but definitely Lord Knight seems to think it's a more even spread than Kazunoko does. Again, the hits keep coming with these tier lists. We have Go One's season 3.5 tier list, and again brought to us by Event Hubs. You have God tier, which is Ultra Instinct Goku. Top 3: Kid Buu, Gotenks, OG Broly and A tier. So not lacking too much, but obviously if there's God tier, you're gonna have some issues. But at the A tier, you have Goku Black, Super Saiyan Goku, Videl, and Nappa. So we are definitely seeing both at the top and the bottom some common denominators. So you should know where your characters stand, even if you disagree with one person here. Another Event Hub story. Harada tells us the most winning Tekken 7 character so far in season 4. So this is ranked matches online. And it is apparently Gigas. Gigas has, to my knowledge, never been great in Tekken 7 during the entire time. But I imagine it's a thing of where this is an online match and you're only fighting someone so many times, or who knows, they could be trolling and nobody and somebody is throwing wins to Gigas players, or it could even be a situation where people don't have that Gigas matchup knowledge and so they lose. I ran into that a lot, both in Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 when I was facing off against Dictator. Yeah, so this article says he has good damage. I imagine it's just the Gigas player knowing what he can get away with, he or she can get away with, and going to town with it. But yeah, it is a thing, because I remember even there was an old Killer Instinct tournament where a Riptor player was fighting a Riptor player, and they didn't know how to fight each other because not too many people play Riptor. So that was like the commentator was sort of going with that. Again, we have Event Hub's story. King of Fighters 15 team compositions will reportedly differ greatly from previous game. And again, Go 1 released Dragon Ball Fighters tier list, and this time it's for assists. So, assist god being Master Roshi, assist top 3. You have Krillin, Kid Goku, and Ultra Instinct Goku at the bottom, and the bottom being A-, so not that big of a difference. But of course, there's the God ranking. At the bottom this is either Gogeta or Vegito. I am super sorry, I cannot remember which one is which. And base Vegeta. That's all, it's always interesting to look at. Arturo Sanchez gives us Dalsum matchups, matchup chart brought to us by Event Hubs. Not really going to go over it, but that's there if you like to check it out. New Punch Planet character, Arnold. It's Arnold with a 0 and a 1, but you get what I'm saying. Features aerial movement and abilities that one might expect from Marvel's Capcom's Sentinel, brought to us by Event Hub. Guilty Gear Double X Accent Core plus R had GGPO rollback netcode patched in, and it's live for everyone on the PC, brought to us by Event Hub. Punk released a Karen matchup chart, so you can check that out if you like. True Underdog released a tier list for Mortal Kombat 11. And so this is interesting because we don't really get as much Mortal Kombat actual strategy tier type stuff. So Bottom tier is, geez, and I'm so unfamiliar with most of this Mortal Kombat stuff. Bottom tier is I think that's the God Lady, who's Centurion. No, no, well, I don't know who that is then. Jeez. Uh, peruse this article a bit. So, Jackie at the top. Or near the top. Cetrion, at the top. Joker at the top. I don't know who that is. Fujin and Liu Kang also at the top. You have this Shiva looking lady. I am completely unfamiliar. Maybe it's somebody who they changed the look of. Bottom tier is a bald person. I thought that was Cetrion, but it's not. Huh. Okay, no, that's Shiva, so they really changed her look. Still have no idea who's at the bottom though. Anyway, let's move on. Um, Dragon Ball Fighters crosses 6 million copies sold, which means new items coming to the game. This is brought to us by Event Hubs. Bleach's Yorichi, Shihohin, flash steps into action in the new Jump Force trailer. This story brought to us by Event Hubs. I put this in here just to say you should not be playing Event Hub. Well, Event Hub sucks too, but you should not be playing. God, I can't even remember the name. I think because I'm trying to protect my brain. Jump Force. You should not be playing Jump Force, or supporting Jump Force. It's. I guess they still have enough of a player base to consider releasing DLC, or at least to get people to pay for DLC. I know it was on. I think it was on Games Pass or Games for Gold on Xbox, so there could be people doing that, but I can't in good conscience give them money for that, or recommend people give them money for that. So Event Hubs again. Justin Wong updates his Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tier list. At God tier, we have Cable, Magneto, Sentinel, and Storm, no surprise, and Roll tier at the bottom, which is pretty much how it was. I'm guessing there's some movement in the middle, but I'm not going to waste too much time on that. Yeah, as far as I can tell from this image, it's not really a question that's answered, but yeah, that is there if you'd like to check that out. Of course, there is a video version because that's what you have to do nowadays. Mortal Kombat 11 got a December 11th update. Almost half of players use Ultra Instinct Goku in the Dragon Ball Fighters National Championship. The previous story in this story brought to us by Event Hubs. Yeah, so the final week of the national championships, we had 15 Ultra Instinct Gokus, which makes sense considering we just talked about tier lists and Ultra Instinct Goku basically being at the top. Also, Kid Goku, Broly, and Kid Buu up here. Kid Buu with 10, Broly with 9, and Kid Goku with 7. And at the bottom, we have Goku Black with 1, technically 0, and Super Broly with 0, technically 2. Which doesn't exactly line up with what are saying is the bottom tier, but does a little bit with Goku Black being there. Next up, Dragon and Honeybee team up for early Mortal Kombat 11 tier list with Rain as one of the weakest 3 new characters. Brought to us by Event Hubs. And it's taken a while to load here. Let's check on chat. Don't really have anybody chatting. Yeah, so at the top, hold on, maybe at the top you have Cetrion, Liu Kang, Jackie, I'm guessing it's Sub-Zero, and what is the new Khan's name? This shows how little I'm invested in Mortal Kombat. Let's see. Gosh, it's like on the tip of my tongue. Kotal Khan. And Joker at the top. At the bottom, at the A rank, is Robocop, Shao Kahn, Devora, and Scarlet, I'm going to say. Pretty sure that's Scarlet. So, similar to the other tier list we saw, another Event Hub story in the fact that Scorpina is now available for Power Rangers Battle of the Grid. She's the final Season 3 character. Another Event Hub story. Cammy rises in popularity on a chart dominated by Shoto's. We get the 2020 November stats from Capcom's Shadaloo CRI online dealio. So, Ryu, unsurprisingly, at 10% played. Ken, Akuma, Guile, Kage, Cammy. And at the bottom, we have Feng, Minot, Falk, Blanca, Dhalsim. Kind of surprised Minot's so low, but I don't know if it's because she's bad or maybe the community was more liking her in the meme sense than the playing as her sense. But yeah. King of Fighters 13 comes to Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers on January 1st, 2021. Brought to us by Shoryuken. And now we move on to, I did not test stream markers. Hopefully they work now. Yep. Now we're on to the tourneys. So let's talk a bit about that. Jinx.tv brings us the story. Mango wins LACS 3 as Melee community raises over 260k in support of Games for Love. Dragon Ball Fighters National US West, Jonathan Tine, I'm going to assume that's Tine, beats Reynald in crazy 9-game grand finals, brought to us by Jinx TV. We Play Dragon Temple Mortal Kombat Tournament has concluded and happened. It was a 60k competition, brought to us by Jinx.tv. Dragon Ball Fighters National France Offense Monster Wawa triumphs over Kaiden, brought to us by Jinx.tv. Dragon Ball Fighters National Japan, Kazunoko takes second season championship, which we sort of knew from talking about earlier stories, brought to us by Jinx.tv. 5 days of Melee charity event began on December 14th, so I suppose check that out if you lot, brought to us by Esports. Itabashi Zangief beats down competition at Topanga Championship 2's Street Fighter V Championship Edition. It's kind of sad seeing Itabashi Zangief have to switch off Zangief for Abigail, but that's Street Fighter V in a nutshell. Hey, brought to us by Event Hubs. Our next story again, Event Hubs, Capcom Cup 2020. We already talked about that. In the Dominican Republic, scheduled for February 2021. Dan Hibiki to be released for in February. Street Fighter League Pro US Season 3 Week 10 results are published and out there, so you can check that out on eventhubs.com. Cooperation Cups 2001 Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Tournament canceled due to COVID-19. No surprise there. Brought to us by eventhubs.com. Tekken Online Challenge Philippines got results from that, so you can check that out on eventhubs.com. Tekken Online Challenge Japan results. Check that out on, you guessed it, eventhubs.com. And that's it for this week's podcast here. As always, this is a monthly podcast. This is on the first Saturday of the month, so you can tune in to One Punch Combo and find out the latest fighting game news and tournament results. But we also have a weekly podcast, which is filler episode, the anime and manga podcast, which is weekly. So you can check that out on every Saturday, which we're actually going to get into after this. Have to leave a little bit of space because of don't want the videos to overlap. But yeah, as always, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully 2021 brings us a lot more than 2020 did, and is better.